Rated E for everyone.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Well, here it is. Farming Simulator 25 is upon us. It is official, folks. Exciting times, right? Yeah. So I get it. I'm a day late, dollar short, story of my life, always late to the party. But I kind of wanted to sit back with this, with this release and watch what everybody else was doing, right? Kind of look at their footage and check out the trailers and sort of bask in everybody else's excitement of it all, right? And it is exciting. And, if you're into the Farming Simulator franchise, there's no way that this is not exciting for you. All right. You can tell by my intro there that my own version of the cinematic trailer. I just sort of changed things up a little bit because I don't want to beat a dead horse. You've seen it all before, right? So that's what we're going to try to avoid in this video. I don't want to go over everything that you already know. All right. It's some things we're going to touch on. So sorry about that. But like I said, there's no sense, having my video come out and be just like every other one that you've already seen. All right. The most importantly, what I like to talk about is not so much the features of the game, because we're all here to learn how to make maps, right? And we're going to continue to do that without issue. Even now in between, now in 25, we're still going to learn stuff, it's going to be 22 related, but it's not an issue because from every version way back, fundamentally, the core of the game is all the same. Right. So there are changes as we go along, but the basis of it all is still the same. It all still applies. You can go back and watch older FS19 videos and apply everything you learned for the most part to 22. Right. And the same thing is going to happen from 22 to 25. It's not going to be a problem. All right. So we will continue with that. Speaking of videos, I do apologize. I know that I've been missing in action for a while. I needed a break, guys. There's no other way to say it. It's burnout. Who knows? It was definitely burnout for one. I've been hitting it pretty hard these days. And there's just a lot going on. I'm a single dad. I work full time. I got this map going on. We got videos going on. I got other things going on. It's just a lot. It's stretching myself very thin. And I'm sure many of you guys can relate. Just a little while ago, the kid and I, we went up to the mountains. We did some camping. It was wonderful. An awesome time. Love it up there. And once I got back, I don't know, I just kind of pushed things to the back burner a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. It's just been taking some time to myself. So not necessarily a bad thing, right? Trying to recollect myself, right? And kind of a new me, gather myself together again. And hey, what better way to do it than with the release of Farming Simulator 25? Right. So a little bit of a quandary for me, though, because the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is also equally exciting, no denying that, that's coming out November 19th. So it's only a matter of 7 days between one and the other, which is exciting. Right. But they both cost money and neither one of them are cheap. One more so than the other. But it's still fun. Right. Part of my problem, I think, with when FS22 came out. Right. I was super duper excited for that. My gameplay was off the charts with 19. I was always checking out new maps. It was just amazing. I just spent all of my time in 19. And then when I decided to go the routes of doing videos and really stepping up my map making, and it just kind of changed. The whole dynamic changed. Right. So it's like all of my time was spent between videos and maps. And to be honest, I really have not much gameplay in 22. I mean, I played it, obviously, but not really. Like my save games, I don't have not a single save game that has more than just a few hours in it. It's pathetic. It really is. And I'm hoping to change that with 25. So we're going to have to see how that goes. But like I said, we're all here to learn how to make maps. So that's one of the things I definitely want to touch on is what you can expect to be different as far as map making goes. All right. And it's going to be a question that's not really easy to answer. All I can really do is speculate. All right. So let's really quickly just kind of rehash, all of the things that's going on with 25. This stuff you already know. There's a collector's edition coming, which is pretty nice. This thing I find is pretty neat. This USB ignition lock, pretty cool. Somewhere down the road, I want to try and get my hands on that. Now, of course, you guys already know that if you've been to the website, it's not available in the US for whatever reason. I watched I think it was the Farm Sim show. They had Kermit on there, and he was explaining a lot of this, about how um, it's mostly the people that handle the distribution, the distributors. For some reason, I don't know why, it's just not available here, but you will be able to get it at Amazon, some places like GameStop, stuff like that. But just over the website, you can't just right out order it, which I would have thought would have made the most sense. But hey, who am I to say? Anyhow, it's pretty cool. It comes with some pretty neat stuff that I think is definitely worth having if you're into the franchise. All right. And then as usual, everything comes with, you got your year one bundle. There will be the year two probably. And with that, you get new content along the way, different, I guess you can call it DLC, expansion pack, stuff like that. You get the pre-order, you got the bonus pack, the McDon pack. It's pretty cool, right? So it's definitely pretty cool. Now, the thing that, like I said, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but what I thought was amusing was all the complainers out there that, saying like, this version of 25 is nothing but, Farming Simulator 22 reskinned with one new crop. Blah, 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 blah. And you guys have all heard it. I mean, just ridiculous. I'd like to give them my size 13 and where. Hey, we hear it every single year. Every year, these guys are always saying it's one new crop, and it's not. You can even read it, and you can see that it's at least 3 new crops plus some. Speaking of which, I got some speculation I'd like to make because I have a wish list for things that I would like to see differently. And I have some guesses as to maybe, I don't know, some of the new crops that might be coming out. All right. So going on is we know that we're going to get rice. There's 2 types of rice. We're going to get a wet rice and a dry rice. The difference, I couldn't tell you. One's wet, one's dry. That's about as far as I know. Now, I can say that, when you see the trailer with the lady, she's pumping water into the rice paddy. Obviously, that would be the wet rice. Now, with that, they say there's like ground new. Well, let's read through it, right? And we'll touch on it as we go through here. So going through, all right, with this much we already know. We know we're going to grow rice. We know where it's going to be in Asia. Now, as far as Asia, we always have 3 new maps. Well, not 3 new maps. Well, I guess kind of. We got the U.S. map, right? So we don't know the particular location. Last versions, they killed it with Elm Creek. That was awesome. I'm kind of hoping for the same thing this time. I'm not kind of hoping. I'm really hoping for the same thing this time. And then we have the Asia map, which is really cool. I think it's awesome, right? We already do different parts of the world, right? We're all over the place. Why not Asia? It's funny. I watched somebody else's video. I watch everybody's videos for the most part. Some people I love to hate and some people I hate to love. It just, it is what it is. But what I thought was amusing was somebody griping about, they're not quite sure about Asia and blah, 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 blah. There's only one new crop. And, those guys that just definitely can't get it right. But what I found the most amusing is, we'll do maps that are an entirely different planet. Right? Not even on Earth, but somehow Asia is an issue. Go figure. Yeah. Anyhow. So Asia, I think, is cool. Why not? Right? So we know that we're going to get the 2 types of rice and we're going to get spinach plus other new crops. All right. So, I was talking about maps. Anyhow, with the maps, so we got Asia, we got the U.S. map. Now, what happens from year to year, as most of you already know, but maybe some of you don't, is every year there's usually some sort of a DLC, right? So for Farming Simulator 19, it was Erlengrot. So that was our DLC. And when 22 came out, Erlengrot was our 3rd map. Okay, the same thing is going to happen with this version. We had Sri. That was our DLC or our extra content, what have you. And that's going to be the holdover, right? So that's going to be our 3rd map is going to be Sri Lanka. So that's going to be a base game map. It's not going to be, part of the DLC or anything like that, which is kind of cool because as mappers, we now have access to everything on that map, right? So all of the different models and, the houses, prefab, stuff like that. We have access to all that with the base game, which is pretty cool. Now, new crops, as far as what I think additional, I think they're probably going to be Asia based, right? Because we have everything else covered between the US and Sri Lanka. We've covered all the wheat and everything else, and they did introduce some new stuff like grapes and stuff like that. But I'm looking, I think, uh, hard to say. We already have lettuce. I would guess lettuce right off the bat. If we're going to have spinach, we're going to have lettuce, but we already have that. But speaking of which, now the lettuce that we have, that's a greenhouse crop. Now, is spinach going to be that way, or is that going to be like one of your main crops, like out in the fields, right? So that's something interesting. I wonder how it's going to be presented to us. So we're going to get it, but how? Through a greenhouse, or you're going to be able to actually go out and work these things in the fields? I think we're going to have. So, like I said, we already have lettuce, coffee. Coffee, I think we've seen it through a mod, but I kind of think I don't know. I think it'd be cool, and I love coffee, so why not? So one of my guesses, I think, is coffee. The other one, I think, is going to be some sort of fruit or vegetable. We haven't really done anything citrusy yet. I'm not orange. Mangoes, maybe. Mangoes, I think, is native to Asia in that area. So I think those are going to be my two guesses. I think let's go with mangoes and coffee at some point. I think we're going to see those in the game, base game, nonetheless. All right. So anyhow, like I said, we go on with the new crop. So we covered that. The buffalo is here now. Whether or not they're going to be livestock, because they do use water buffaloes in Asia that way. They milk them just like cows. They use them for beef just like cows. A little bit different in, I don't know, maybe their temperament and the way you have to handle them, but they do utilize them the same way that we utilize cattle here, in the U.S. and abroad, right? Everywhere else in the world. So is it going to be, our husbandries? This is going to be part of our livestock? Or is it just going to be like the deer, just floating above the ground somewhere? It's, I'm guessing there's going to be new animals like the deer that just sort of float around the map somewhere, but we'll see. I think we're going to get a little bit of both. We're going to get some background animals that just kind of walk around, like maybe these guys walking around your rice paddies. And then we're also going to get new husbandries, which is pretty cool. All right, so we got new production chains and construction missions. We know how that goes. Lord only knows what the production chains could be. And then the construction missions, you know how that is with the roller coaster, stuff like that. I think it's going to be something along those lines. Obviously, we got more machines. That's never going to stop. We're always going to have more machines. That's just kind of the name of the game, really. And we're going to just keep moving forward with that. Now, it did say somewhere in one of these that it's going to be more mod friendly, right? I couldn't find where it said that, but I'm excited about that. Like, what do they mean about that? And I have a couple guesses and a couple wish list items that we'll go over here in just a little bit. Now, they did make some changes, obviously, to the graphics. As far as what those changes are, they're improvements. That's all I can really say, right? I can't really, it's all speculation at this point anyhow. But they got the distance fog, enhanced shadows, dynamic weather. Now, the dynamic. That's it, Bauer. Dynamic. Dynamic weather effects is something that's going to be interesting as far as the ground deformation. Now, if you're going to have rice paddies, you're dealing with lots of water. There's going to be mud. There has to be mud. Now, like I said, most of these things we've seen through mods already, but that's just the way it works. Even weather was that way. Our seasons was a mod at one point, and then it was eventually implemented into the base game. And that's how a lot of these things go. GPS, I feel, is going to be the same way. You're going to see GPS this year, more than likely. Maybe not, but I kind of think so. And because that's the way it works. Usually some of the most popular mods, let's say, tend to make it into the base game at one point or another. Now, what I would really like to see is I'm sure they're going to be, doing stuff with the AI, improving that. But I would like to see stuff like auto drive, or at least a light version of auto drive, come into the game. I think that would be kind of cool. Maybe, but auto drive kind of nails it on their own. So I don't really think they even need to goof that up by putting it into the base game. But anyhow, like I said, with the dynamic weather, there's a lot of things that could change there, right? So you're definitely going to have mud. Maybe some kind of puddles. We've even seen that. We've seen that with previous mods where you get, after it rains, there's puddles left here and there. It could affect your driving abilities. Maybe you have slippery conditions, you're getting stuck in the mud, that type of thing. I think that's a definite. Now, as far as like the ground deformation, hard to say. We know it's not really going to be like Mud Runner. That's on a whole nother level, right? But I think it's going to be something similar, whether it's, like something like with erosion or, um, this has been stated in other videos. If you're driving over the same area constantly, you start wearing in ruts, stuff like that. Maybe it's just as simple as like, I don't know, maybe just plowing your fields. If you plow a little too deep, you got like an ugly rut down the mountain. Who knows? You see what I'm getting at. Now, how this is going to affect us as map makers, hard to say. I would like to think that there's not much that we're going to have to do there. That's all going to be handled on the engine side, right? We're just going to kind of do our things in the map, and the engine will take care of all the deformation and stuff like that. Now, with the dynamic weather effects, I think could make a big difference here. All right, so we know we're going to have fog. All right, so that's kind of dynamic. It gets hot, it gets muggy, you get fog. Um, Maybe it'll interfere. You'll have like crop interference, something like crop destruction. Maybe, I don't know, rains like crazy, floods, what have you, start losing part of your crops. Maybe you hit a dry season. Now, this is something that I thought about is we've already got the emergency pack out there. Like wildfires, crop fires, that sort of thing. It's a thing. Since we already have the emergency pack, kind of makes sense that, a lightning strike, and next thing you know, half of your new mango orchard is on fire. It's hard to say, but these are all things that I think could be pretty cool, and they're worth, I don't know, dreaming about. So there's definitely going to be changes as far as that stuff goes. What else do we have here? I mean, I guess that's kind of it. Like I said, I'm doing the one thing I said I wasn't going to do, is just start talking your ear off about things that you already know. All right, so let's head over to the editor for no particular reason, just because, I don't know, change of scenery, I guess. With every new version of the game, most of you guys know that we get a brand new editor that comes with it, right? So we're going to be looking at Giants Editor 10, and any new changes in the game are going to be reflected in the editor. All right, so last year's, some of the big changes from last year's, one was, or not last year's, but the last version was textures was a big one. Right. So they took the driving cost, and which the driving cost in itself with the AI was brand new. They did that completely different with 22, and they took the drive cost and they embedded that into the texture itself, which made a huge difference for people that were like looking to rework older maps, right? Maybe like an FS19 map for 22. It really complicated. It didn't complicate things. It was just a lot more work. All right. And that's what I think is going to be the biggest mystery for most of us guys, right? So if you have any type of map that you might be, looking to, to rework for the new version, it's kind of up in the air, of what kind of changes we're going to have, because that's what's going to make the difference. They could add a lot of new stuff to the game, but as far as, creating, the maps and stuff, it stays relatively the same. Older versions are that way. Like, 17 and 19, there was some minor changes, but nothing drastic. Everything was more or less. Now, there was changes, but more or less, like I said, fundamentally, they're the same. All right. So we have done away with the, what was that? The animated graphics XML. And we moved that in. All of your animations got moved into placeables. So placeables was something new for 22. All right. I would like to see them rework that system a little bit. Maybe the placeables. I think there's room for improvement. So we'll see what happens there. Textures, maybe, who knows, with this ground deformation and stuff like that. I'm sure there's going to be ways to apply areas that would get slippery or muddy. One thing I would like to see, no doubt about it, is paintable fields, right? Just like you can pick an open area now, like if I took one of these areas down here, I don't know if I have an open area over here, maybe. Yep. All right. So if you took one of these areas and you just kind of went down to your texture, not texture layer painting. All right. So if you go down to your foliage layer painting, can't talk today, apparently. But if you pick any one of these out of here, like say potato, and we just give it like harvest ready. All right. And that's how, obviously, how we would get the potato on the ground. I kind of think fields deep. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I think the fields could be done that way as well. Right now, what I'm looking more like is taking like the terrain detail, right? So it would be something like this, where you'd be able to paint your fields on just like this. All right. So what you see now with all of this dirt here, that would be ready to go. Like, maybe it's just a special layer like you have like this, and then you just paint it with that particular layer, and that's it. Once it's done, you just, I don't know, maybe run a script, whatever. But your fields are done. That to me would be superb, super duper easy. I can't wait to see if they implement something like that. And to me, that's the most exciting thing, is waiting for the new editor and see what kind of changes come out with the new editor is more exciting than the game in some respects. So that's one thing I'd really like to see done differently. The other thing is maybe a rework of the spline system. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Maybe kind of go back to the way things were. One of their last updates, they made some improvements to the spline system, which I don't think were improvements at all. So maybe they'll do a little bit of work with that and get that back to being more user-friendly. The other thing I'd like to see change is this procedural placement up here. Look through YouTube, do a search on it. You will not find one single video, including myself, where anybody has covered procedural placement. Why? Because it is not intuitive. It's not user-friendly in any way, shape, or form. Now, if I didn't have all this extra stuff going on between maps, tutorials, and what have you, and I can really dedicate some time to it, I'm sure I could figure things out at least more than what I already have. Now I haven't even looked at it. I mean, I did, but it's just a paperweight at this point. I've got things covered with the way I've been doing things, and who knows. Some of the scripts I would like to see make their way into the editor as well. We see this with the game, like all these popular mods at some point or another make it into the game. Why not the scripts, right? Like the info layers for the field dimensions with bitmaps, something like that, right? So I think would be kind of cool. The fence to power placement for the fence, that would be pretty cool to see something like that, or even drag and drop for the fences like it is in game, where you can just kind of click, drag it out, and bam, your fence is done. Other improvements I'd like to see now, like when you look at other game engines like Unity and stuff like that, they do things very, very differently. We're kind of in the Stone Ages with the way we're doing things with Farm Sim, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, we make it work, right? But I would like something as simple as all of your assets, right? Your prefabs, your placeables, they just go into a central folder somewhere, and that's it. Once you're in the editor, you can bring up, maybe it's a certain window you bring up, and you just start dragging your assets in. I mean, we do that now to an extent, but then you have to go through and you have to tweak all your XMLs and all these different files to get everything to show up properly. I'm talking as simple as just point and click, and that's it. You are done, right? You want a house here? Poof, done. Roads. You want to build some roads? Maybe they're spline based. Maybe they're not. Maybe it's like the fences where you just drag them out and that's it. You're done. You don't have to do anything extra. There's no spline street constructor. There's no taking prefab, these placement packs, and you're just piecing them all together. Just drag it out, and that's it. Your road is there. It's done. It's doable. I've seen it. in other applications. So those are the type of things I'm hoping for. Now, I have a feeling I'm going to have to keep hoping, but it would be nice. And I really do think they're going to surprise us with something just, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but above and beyond what we already have. I think, we thought that was going to happen with procedural placement. It didn't, hopefully they're going to rework that and make it a little bit more user-friendly, and we'll be able to start utilizing that. But anyhow, so we know there's going to be changes. You tell me, what do you guys think? Are you excited for it? For the game, 2, equally excited for the new version of Giants Editor. What are some of your wish list items? What are some of the things that you think could be done differently with the editor? Or the game, what have you, put it out there. Let me know in the comments some of the things that you think could be done differently. Now, like I said, if you're working on a map, now this is my current map here. Maybe I'll take a video shortly in the future here, and we'll do some driving around because I haven't really done that much on this map. Look for stop signs that have fallen over, things that need to be changed, just kind of testing things out. But this was scheduled for release on FS22, and I'm still kind of looking for that release. I don't know, man. It's taken a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I've had discussions with my friends about, holding off and just doing an early release for 25, but depending on the type of changes that come with the game is going to dictate how much work needs to be put back into this map. I could have it completely done and ready for 22 and then have to rework the majority of the map. It could be another 6 months worth of work. Not sure I'm ready for that. And I don't want to scare you guys. If you're in the middle of a map project, thinking that, it's never going to work for 25, it will. It will. It's doable no matter what. It just depends on the changes that Giants makes, right? Of what's going to change as far as our map making goes. Like I said, rest assured that when these changes come out, when the new version comes out, I'll dissect everything. I'll go through everything, figure out, what's different, how things need to be done, and we'll do videos on it, right? Not a big deal. I'll bring these guys up to speed in no time. All right. So that's not going to be an issue. Like I said, from 19 to 22, obviously we had our changes in animations. Your textures were a little bit different, the placeable system. So there were changes, but they were nothing that broke anything. It wasn't that bad. And I kind of feel like the same thing is going to happen here, right? Now they're saying there's going to be some big changes, but I really don't think it's going to be anything that's going to affect our map making abilities to a higher degree, right? It's nothing that's just going to really hurt us. And like I said, they made some kind of mention about things being more modder friendly, not mod friendly, just modder friendly. Now, whether they mean the mod hub or, I don't know, maybe just, who knows? I just don't know. I'm really hoping they're talking about the editor, but we'll see. All right. So like I said, there's not a whole lot I can tell you about what to expect as far as the editor, except that there will be changes. And they're all usually always for the better, right? So if you're working on a map now that you're trying to get out for 22, keep going, get it out for 22. Not a big deal. Like this map might never see FS25 ever. Like I said to one of my friends, even if it happens to be November 11th, this thing is going out one way or the other. FS22 is always going to be there. Like I had said earlier, I didn't have much playtime on 22 to begin with. So at some point, I'm going to put some time into 22 playing it. Whether or not 25 has been released, I'm still going to play 22. Every now and then I pick up 19. Not as much. Early on I did, but not as much now. But I still do, right? And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'll play my maps. I'll get my use out of them, no doubt. All right? And you guys can do the same thing. But what I want to do is I'll just get a feel for it, right? Once I know the changes that were made to the game and as far as creating maps, how drastically different that's going to be. And the other thing is how well my map plays. Like if it turns out to be a great map, I might really want to redo that for 25. If the changes aren't too much and if it's not, real drastic changes, then why not? All right. So like I said, those are things just to keep in mind. There will be changes, nothing drastic, I'm sure. But get excited, right? Get excited. And so really don't have anything else I want to say. We've kind of gone over everything that, like I said, you guys already know. I just wanted to let you guys know that these are exciting times. And you guys already know that, right? So I am trying to get myself back into the game after my little hiatus here. And that's it. I think maybe one of my next videos, maybe I'll do a drive around here. I think that'd be cool that we can kind of go and see what these things look like in game. Anyhow, I'm going to leave you guys go. Get excited for the game. Get excited for the new editor. And with that being said, I am Bauer Brown, and I will see you on the next one.